And we're back for game number 2 of the evening. Typical mistakes that we just saw hang an ugly one on Phoenix Esports. Now going to be taking on a bit of a bigger test, to put it mildly. The International 3 Direct Invites, known as Team Dignitas. A name, I don't think you'd have to be just in the North American Dota to have an idea of who they are if you happen to be a Dota fan, but as well as TM played in the first game of the evening. Wouldn't surprise me at all to see if they were able to at least give Dignitas some trouble, even if they do end up losing. By the way, I just want to mention this on Dota Lounge. Cracks me up. Some of the folks in the chat were spamming the fact that it's like 123 rares you win if you bet on typical mistakes. And Dignitas loses. So all you betting junkies out there, don't know if it's closed yet. Maybe you can get in one last minute bet. But anyway, if you're tuned in, my name's Aaron AC Chambers. It's my great good pleasure to have you as a part of the stream. And speaking of having new folks on the stream, how about we have on Greg, What is Hip Laird, bringing you the co-commentary this time. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. I was very much enjoying that first game, and I can't wait to see if Typical Mistakes can earn the rares for this game against Dignitas.
Yeah, it's one of the folks in chat. It's so very true. Is 123 rares being at risk is greater than a 10,000 USD prize pool. So at least we know. We know what it takes to get the fans interested. Anyway, Typical Mistakes, they did have some lapses in play, make no mistake. But in general, to be honest, I feel like they just won by draft. Phoenix's draft just did not match up well. They had so much early and mid-game damage coming out from just pure spam ability. And Typical Mistakes really drafted it quite brilliantly. So it's not to say they're an impregnable team, but they're going to need to be damn near perfect to beat this Dignitas squad. Looking at the bans, Wisp and the Darkseer banned out by Typical Mistakes. Lifestealer and Bad Rider taken out by Dignitas. Dignitas grabs up that Lone Druid quick, fast, and in a hurry.
Yeah, I'm not too surprised to see this pickup from Dignitas. Obviously, the Lone Druid he's such a powerful hero right now. I mean, everything from laning to late game to mid game, the bear gives you so much utility. Ever since that armlet build started, he seems to be one of the heroes of choice, especially for Dignitas. So we'll see what Typical Mistakes can bring in. Would not be surprised to see them pick up some of the similar heroes from the first game. That strategy is one that they like using a lot. They participated in a tournament that I hosted about a month ago and won that tournament. So I've seen a bit of their play, and I've been really impressed.
Going to go ahead and grab up the Bane and the Gyrocopter. Gyro, of course, doesn't need a whole lot of explaining. Just a very high-value hero. And there's Dignitas grabbing up the Kunkka right off the bat. It's funny. In Game 1, there was a ban coming out of Typical Mistakes. They banned out the Kunkka in the second ban phase, and I myself, Abidas, kind of went over why that made so much sense. He's a hero who's very hard to push into, but a hero that can also put on a lot of aggression with the low cooldown on Ghost Ship. But more than anything, he's a hero you can run mid who's going to give you some great damage in the mid game so long as he's of adequate level and has a decent amount of farm. And that takes so much pressure off of the Lone Druid. Druid really is a hero who needs another damage dealer in the mid game just to allow him to breathe a little, to give him some time to get up the items he really needs to have. And so long as he's given that room, he's given that space, just with an Armlet and a Maelstrom, for example, an Armlet and a Basher even, he can just completely dominate the later phases of the mid-game. Typical Mistakes, though, with the Gyrocopter pickup, they're not going to be short on damage themselves. The mass magic damage coming out from Rocket Barrage and Call Down, nothing to sneeze at. And Bane, a great way to shut down Lone Druid and Kunkka, both in particular. The Enfeeble works well on the Bear, or you can just Nightmare the Bear. You can Fiend's Grip one, Enfeeble the other, whatever. He's got 3 spells that work extremely well in this situation. So Typical Mistakes has the tools at their disposal already. Dignitas, though, with a very strong Shadow Demon pick, gonna be responded to with a Puck pickup to round out the front 3 for TM.
And Puck's he's one of those heroes as well that's become very popular, partly through IXDL. He saw a lot of play in that North American League, and it's sort of branched out now as teams are starting to see how powerful he can be. He's one of the most mobile heroes in the game, and once you get a Blink Dagger on that hero, he is almost impossible to kill. But Phase Shift, it's the perfect combination. It allows you to go into fights, leave fights, pretty much without taking much damage, and he's got a lot of really powerful team fight abilities to help set up success for Gyrocopter.
Yeah, his reach is immaculate, and the synergy between gyros you just mentioned really can't ask for a whole lot more. If he's able to land 2 or 3 person coil, lock them down for the call down, you're just not going anywhere. So Magnus actually makes it through the entire first pick phase unpicked. And, to this day, I've talked about it with Milk during the D2L broadcast and with Beatiz during our broadcast as well. It's remarkable to me that the Mag is still, I won't say overlooked, but just passed by so many teams. The hero hasn't changed. He's still just as much of a game changer as ever, and he's a phenomenal pick in an offensive or defensive position. And even, picking the puck up here, if that's what you want, I can't imagine a lot of situations looking at what Dignitas already has with the Druid and the Kunkka. That's two melee heroes that are going to want to be pretty closely grouped in these fights. I feel like the Magnus might have been a little bit better, but obviously TM disagrees. So the bans continue. Nyx Assassin survived the first pick phase, not going to survive the second ban phase though. Prophet and Keeper of the Light in the same boat.
I definitely agree with the power of Magnus. I think the one thing that a lot of these teams are worried about is a lot of times we've been seeing Rubik picked up in response to Magnus, but they did have the opportunity here to pick it up as their last pick and then ban out that hero. But if you don't catch Rubik inside the reverse polarity, then he can just wreak havoc on your offense, just turn everything around extremely quickly. But like I said, Dignitas did have that opportunity, or Typical Mistakes rather, to ban out the Rubik, so they wouldn't have to face against it. But we'll have to see what the puck can bring. He's a little bit more aggressive, and that definitely suits the play style of a lot of North American teams. They like to put the pressure on, they like to isolate heroes, and they like to get pickoffs, and Puck is definitely a hero that can help you with that.
He's a hero that's going to deal with Tidebringer in mid, if that is indeed going to be a mid Kunkka. He's going to deal with that better than most would, just because he can phase shift much easier, and so on and so forth. But so far, neither team really tipping their hand all that much, just kind of picking to each other's strengths. I like the Lone Druid and Kunkka combination coming out from Team Dignitas predominantly because they give you a nice combination of single target DPS as well as physical DPS in an AoE, which AoE physical DPS is actually pretty tough to come by unless you go out of your way to get it by building a Battle Fury on a Faceless Void. Gyrocopter is one of the few heroes who does give you that by default. So Magnus not going to survive. They're not going to give the option to Dignitas to pick that Magnus to go mid. Don't think that was going to be the case regardless, but the Kunkka could have wound up in the off lane or even the Druid if they wanted to try and tri-lane farm a Kunkka, which I don't know that I've ever actually seen. Jakiro, though, rounds out the front four, and that adds a nice dose of magic damage. Dignitas with a very robust lineup, to use the term that has become a meme involving my name, but very well balanced. They have a lot of ways they can take these fights.
Yeah, absolutely. The biggest thing that I'm going to be worried about right now for Typical Mistakes is Dignitas picking up a hero that can turn around their initiations, because as it looks right now, Puck and Lina are going to be moving into the fight and trying to initiate as quickly as they can. Puck's going to be leading the way, but right now Dignitas has Shadow Demon and Jakiro. Both of those heroes are a hero that you think about immediately turning around, extremely defensive. They've got Disruption, they have Ice Path to try to stop the aggression of Typical Mistakes, and to be honest, they're going to have very good execution to get through those two heroes.
One thing that stands out, well, they shorted up with the Lina there. Nice Juggernaut pickup. Damn it, I was actually going to sound smart. I was going to say, when I look at how they could run this and how they want to decide to run it, they still have so many options open to them. They could end up running that Jug mid, actually, and running the Druid in the off lane or tri-lane the Kunkka. They could basically tri-lane any of those heroes. If they tri-lane the Juggernaut, going to indicate that Dignitas wants to start pushing sooner rather than later. But the reason that's such an excellent pickup, look how all-in Typical Mistakes lineup is in terms of magic damage in order to try and take any sort of an early team fight. Gyrocopter, once he gets his items up, can pour out the physical DPS. Problem is, he's extremely reliant on Rocket Barrage and Call Down. You're going to have Bane, who does have a decent disable, so on and so forth, but his damage output, other than the pure damage from the Brain Sap, not that great. Puck, all in on magical damage. Lina, same thing. And the Brewmaster, I see that. I don't want to say it's a panic pick. I don't think it's that at all, but I think it is a pick where they look and go, okay, holy crap, that's a lot of physical damage. They're going to have a Juggernaut who, through Blade Fury and Omni Slash, is just going to shake off or ignore all of our damage that we have ready to put out, and they have a nice hero in the mid game again to play aggressive in the Kunkka with that extremely low cooldown on Ghost Ship. So Typical Mistakes, strong draft of their own. Do feel like Dignitas is going to be showing us a lot of fireworks early, though.
I think you're definitely right. That they pick up that Brewmaster, they look at this team, they're like, wow, how are we going to win a mid-game team fight? Well, they picked the best mid-game team fight hero in Brewmaster, and it should give them some good utility against a lot of what Dignitas has to offer. But really, they're just going to be looking to give Cake some space on the Gyrocopter.
And one of the big things, though, Typical Mistakes is going to have to really go out of their way to avoid their namesake in terms of their play here. Now, the big thing about the Brewmaster, as strong as he is with his level 1 ulti, it's a 3-minute cooldown once it's used. And what's going to end up happening, if they blow that, like, that's a defensive pick, make no mistake. That isn't they're not going to look to be aggressive at all. And that's kind of problematic for me because even in the late game, they have one late game hero. The Brewmaster falls off entirely. Lina starts to matter much less once BKBs are out. Puck and Bane basically in the same boat. And they're really dependent on this Gyrocopter once the game gets anywhere near the late game. And they're going to be up against one of the best single target heroes in the entire game in the Lone Druid, who is really just an excellent counter to the Gyrocopter due to root. Then they're going to have two other physical DPS heroes in the late game in the Kunkka and the Juggernaut. So this is a game where I don't know the typical mistakes is going to feel comfortable fighting early unless it's just under their own tower using the brew to counter initiate. But it's a game where I don't feel like they're going to be comfortable late. So it's going to take some very, very nice play for them to make this lineup work and not fall apart in front of Dignitas.
I think they're banking on some early aggression and getting a couple kills in lane. I think we can bet on some aggressive rotations if anything starts to go wrong in their lanes, because if they lose their lanes, there's not really any opportunity for them to come back.
There's a disruption. Dignitas wasting no time. They are going to follow it up with the Torrent. Nothing else. Ice Path just nips at the heels of Fun. So he does manage to eat his way through the tree with a fortuitous Tango. And Dignitas, they're going to offensively tri-lane. That's what they're going to do. And yeah, that's kind of one of the options that was available to them. It is sneaking on the Juggernaut, though. So it may be the Jug that winds up mid with Fogged as a part of the offensive tri-lane. They're not about to abandon this, though. Light Striker Ray catches way too. And there's a Nightmare to bail him out. Let's see, do they want to engage? They may as well. Hell, they're right in the middle of them. There's the Blade Fury. Lots of, beautiful Ice Path. Wow. Caught all 4 of them. Light Striker Ray, though, does catch Universe. He might be our first blood. Good play from Puck. Ryu adds first blood to the board. Give it to the underdogs. Typical mistakes. DD going to be picked up by the Jug. He doesn't have enough mana to use Blade Fury. Don't know that they have. Yep, don't really have the firepower to pursue that out and try to add another kill to the board. But Dignitas, who decided to put the pressure on early and play super aggressive, ends up paying the price. Typical mistakes. Off to a nice start here.
Yeah, they're trying to turn the screws, and it didn't really work too well. They didn't even get the ward off to block the camp, but in any event, there was a sentry ward put down. Now they finally get it down, so we'll see. He's going to have to go back there and de-ward that.
Gyro versus the Lone Druid and Bana. Before we start to analyze that, I do want to run through our lineups if we can. I am going to watch the Jug just because, yeah, they are spread out quite a bit. But at any rate, way too sexy. He'll be on the Jakiro. Fogged will be handling the Kunkka here in mid. Gonna have Universe playing on our Shadow Demon. Lone Druid handled by Aoi. Solo farming against that Gyro as mentioned. And Sneaking, who's the typical mid player for Dignitas, will be handling the Juggernaut on the side of typical mistakes. I'm a Sheep. Gonna be playing on Lina. Fan of Sun Yun. I think I'm just going to start calling him Sun Yun. Will be playing on the Brewmaster. The Bane will be handled in this tri-lane by Fun on mid. Ryu, who netted the first blood, he's setting up shop there in mid. Going to be going one-on-one. And Cakes playing on the Gyrocopter. Now this down here for Aoi. Aoi should basically do fine here. He's going to take some up. Hold on, there's a disruption. Dignitas follows it up with the Ice Path, and Sneaking's going to go for it. Rushes right in, does not use the Blade Fury. So far, typical mistakes, able to hold it together.
The one problem I see for Dignitas in this lane is there's not a ton of damage.
And there's a clap, 1 second. Ice Path to follow it up. No follow-up there. Yeah, in terms of the damage, you're right. It's going to be all about the Blade Fury. That's going to change, though, once the brown boots are up on Sneaking. Only about 100 gold out from him now.
I mean, they have grid initiation with disruption as Ice Path follow-up, and it's going to allow them to put whoever in position they need to on whatever hero they catch out. But Snaking, I mean, Juggernaut does damage, but he's going to need a couple levels in Blade Fury. We've seen he's putting a level in Healing Ward already. We'll see if they want to try to push this lane into the tower as quickly as they can. But without Blade Dance, I mean, there's only so much he can do in terms of damage, and even with that, he's going to have to get lucky to get a couple of good crits off.
Yeah, Blade Dance, not an ability you usually want to put these early points into much, but you can always put him into the Healing Ward as well as the Blade Fury. And yeah, we can see Aoi doing just fine down here. And it's not necessarily a skill difference thing, just Gyro, even with Flat Cannon, can only harass the Druid so much, especially if he has a decent regen, and he does. Aoi has only had to use 1 Tango so far. And, but what's going to be the most important skill coming out here is going to be way too with Dual Breath. Ice Path is going to catch Fun. Now they're going to disrupt him as well. Don't know that that was necessary. They're going to follow it up. He's right on it. Brown boots are in his inventory. And again, that's where we knew that damage was going to come from. Nice Nightmare, though. Buys himself a little bit of time and will end up being cleaned up regardless. Way 2 now counter-initiated on. The clap slowed him down. There's that Dual Breath. And Fan of Sun Yun continuing to take damage. That's exactly why. Nice Ice Path, but Light Striker Ray bails out his buddy. Sneaking now, the one being hunted, has the ward if he wants to drop it. 5 seconds until magic immunity is available. Disruption from Universe buys him a little bit of time. He will be able to salve himself back up. And the Brewmaster continues to pursue. Not going to be able to pop it, though. But yeah, we saw right there, as part of it, 1, the Brown Boots, very important, and the Dual Breath from the Jakiro. The fact that he can slow those heroes down, allow Juggernaut to stay on top of them. Those, by far, the 2 most important abilities now they have on this lane. Going to be a lot more dicey for typical mistakes, but sneaking, yeah, getting a little too far out there takes a little bit of damage.
Yeah, they're really just Dignitas is just trying to get a foothold in this lane, and if they can get Snaking comfortable at all and have him farm up just a little bit, they're gonna have a pretty big advantage over this tri lane. I think it's gonna be pretty hard for typical mistakes to maintain any sort of level of normality in that top lane.
But seeing a lot of emphasis being given to this pull camp, and one of the options that typical mistakes might actually want to think about, and comes from just talking to Loda, both. When we cast together, hang on. Gonna have a TP down to bottom. That's gonna be the Jakiro. Way 2 gonna head through the jungle. He's looking to punish Cakes. And Cakes already being forced back just a little bit. Yep, so not the most well-timed of ganks as the lane pushes. Gonna guess they're just gonna try to maybe get him up under his tower. They're not auto-attacking. Continuing to just last it. So we'll leave that alone. But anyway, whenever they're in a situation like this, and you're under a lot of pressure and it's not going that well, you can just intentionally shove the lane. Single pull the lane on purpose. Hang on. Cakes does get caught. Came too far forward. And Aoi and Weitu able to add that kill to their total.
Yeah, and that's pretty unfortunate. I mean, they really need to keep this gyrocopter safe, and 1v1 up against a lone druid is already pretty dicey. Any sort of rotation is going to make that lane nearly impossible.
Brewmaster in trouble here. And, ooh. Actually got a nice block there from the Stout Shield. Now they're going to re-engage Nightmare on sneaking. He's got help behind him. But they know he's by himself just with the Shadow Demon. But they opt not to follow it up. I guess just not having the brew. Quite the big deal. Haven't talked a whole lot about what's going on here in mid. Puck getting the better of Kunkka. No surprise there. Kunkka holding his own, though, sitting at 18. And again, this is just how strong Puck is in particular against Kunkka, so long as he's paying attention and can phase shift away from those Tidebringers. Just play back as well, abuse his range. But both of those heroes getting decent farm. 24 last hits for Aoi. He's slightly ahead of Cakes, but with Cakes dying, certainly puts him behind quite a bit. But what I was going to say, and it doesn't look like it's going to be necessary right now, but what you can do in a lot of situations like this, if you're being challenged for your pull camp and you just are really coming out on the bad end of things, you can opt, hold on, Cake's going to be caught out once again. And there's the dual breath. That might be enough to allow the bear to get on top of him. Bruised there. There's the coil. Coil went down and only caught Aoi. No follow-up, so some miscommunication there. Jakiro manages to secure the kill with the dual breath. And they're going to let me make this point at some point. I'll say it shortly. You can shove an offensive tri-lane up under their own tower, intentionally shove your own lane. That way they're moving backwards and not getting the experience. Then you can pull back and begin to farm your supports in the jungle, even though your carry suffers a little bit. And given it is a Brewmaster who is not farming well, just 13 last hits, that would have been an understandable alternative. All in all, though, with the 16 last hits on the Jug and 15 on the Brew, they're not in bad shape.
And, I mean, in the bottom lane, he got a pretty aggressive maneuver put on him, and immediately the rotation from typical mistakes. That's what I was talking about. They're just trying to protect their lanes and make sure the laning phase doesn't get out of hand. If it does, then it's gonna be even harder than it is right now.
All knotted up 2-2. And again, the problem I have is typical mistakes does not have a lineup that I think is going to fare super well in the late game. Strong as Gyro is, this is not a game they're going to want to go to 45 minutes. And Dignitas probably likely to oblige them. They have a team that can pour on a lot of pressure and continue to allow Aoi to farm. But Aoi's going to just make up his mind that his inventory is full at some point. And we'll see a lot of aggression. We see this camp being challenged by sneaking. Actually takes a lot of damage there. All the way down to 150 HP. Drops his healing ward. And now eats a Dragon Slave. Forced to pull back. Typical sneaking here in mid. We're going to have a gank attempt. Fogged. Will get the boat off. Now the Jakiro's there. There's the Ice Path. Ryu will be caught with the dual breath. That'll seal his fate. No level 6 yet on the Brewmaster. And Shadow Demon pulling back after Juggernaut apparently died top. So they keep going blow for blow, man. 3-3.
Yeah, they're just trying to keep it even, and another aggressive rotation. Both teams here don't really want to let anyone die if they don't have to. So Puck did a pretty nice job, almost not dying, but once again, like you were saying, that dual breath is really brutal. The slow just makes it really hard to get away from any sort of aggression.
And sneaking, now banging on Cakes. And he's going to be forced to use his Blade Fury, and Cakes is in trouble here. He's going to be forced to use his wand charges. And there's the Omni Slash. That's all the deaths understandable for the most part. That was one they didn't need to give out. Cakes just underestimating how much damage that Jugger could do. Now, there's X marks the spot. Torrent is going to be there. Well placed. Ice Path to follow it up. And Brew is not only slow to 6, he is really hurting right now. Has gotten very little done early on. Here comes Lena. Now here comes the boat. Boat gonna split the wickets. Oh no, that caught Lena. Barely. Caught her by her coattails. So they add another kill. That's gonna be 4 down. Quick, fast, and in a hurry. 9 minutes in, 10 kills on the board, 7 of which belong to Dignitas, including a Tier 1 tower kill that's happening right as we speak. 9 minutes in, taking a look at the gold. 3,000 going the way of the professional squad. The experience up near 5,000. Not looking good for typical mistakes so far.
Yep, and that's what I was talking about when I was saying about the laning stage getting out of hand. That was actually a really nice wraparound. They went all the way around the back. There was no ward vision in the bottom rune spot where you'd expect there to be some. And they took advantage of it and were able to secure a couple nice kills. A really aggressive maneuver by Ryu was not enough to salvage the fight, and he went down as well. And that's a serious blow into their offensive capabilities. Now they're going to have to be pretty conservative. I think they're probably going to try to smoke gank very soon and try to pick off a key hero. If not, they're just going to keep spiraling out of control.
Right now, that gyrocopter has not been pulling his weight. He's 0-2. Fog going to be caught out here in mid. Fog's so tanky already. They're going to have to spend everything they have. Here comes the boat, and here comes sneaking. Fog using the wand charges to keep himself alive. Now the Blade Fury, they're going to get him, but they're going to end up losing a Bane in return and maybe more. Ryu, there's a disruption. Buys him some time. Ryu was in a bit of trouble. What? Okay. So we're blowing split now. And I'm going to... Sometimes you have these weird little input errors where an ability goes off, you're spamming it because you think you're going to die or something, and then whenever you don't want it to happen, it still goes through. But that was bizarre, and that actually opens the door in a big way for Dignitas. They can hook up and push with Aoi now and not have to cope with that.
I think he was afraid. He was trapped inside the illusions, and I think he was afraid that they were going to try to take advantage of that. I mean, illusions don't last very long, but it doesn't take very long to die if you're stuck in the middle of the river. But that's definitely going to hamper their abilities in the next couple of minutes here.
140 seconds until that's back off cooldown. And I would be, yeah, here they go. Hooking up at top. They're just going to push through on top, knowing they're, you know, with Primal Split down, what can Trademark do? Or, excuse me, typical mistakes. And TM not even going to be able to challenge this once they hook up. They might try to push through to Tier 2 here. Very, very possible. Depending on how confident they feel about this lineup. Aoi's still not here. But likely going to dip into lane and look to split push once they force a reaction here in the top lane. And yeah, they've already smoked up, trying to use the Juggernaut as bait. And they're going to move directly south of the Tier 1. Typical mistakes has yet to react. Looks like they may smell a rat here.
Yeah, if they fall for this, that would be pretty horrific, but I don't think they're going to.
Yep, just going to let it go. Tower was low to begin with, and yeah, they're actually going to smoke themselves.
They smoke up, yeah.
Maybe they're going to try to just go kill Aoi.
He's got a lot of health, though. He's already at 1,400 HP on just the main bear, and then, I mean, his summon bear has an armlet already. It's 11 minutes, and he's looking pretty healthy.
Well, here's the problem I have. If this is spotted, they'll be able to TP. Everyone has TPs right now. That'll be a mass reaction. They have spent nothing, so they'll come in hot. And if they're not spotted, they're just going to take a Tier 2. And killing the Druid's valuable. It ain't this valuable. They know where he is.
They can't sack the Tier 2 for this.
And
they have no TPs, though, really.
Yeah.
Like the sports are not carrying TPs.
And we see... Yeah, there we go. This is going to be a kill on Cakes. That's why you don't go alone to protect a tower. Now he's still fine, by the way. And there's the ghost ship sealing his fate. Now the mass reaction comes. So they not only got anything, or didn't get anything, they lost it. And, you know, right now, there's an Omni Slasher going to be engaging on Fun. He'll end up being dead. Nope, actually, Brain Sap helps keep him alive. Ice Path is there to clean things up, though. Fogged is there doing good damage. Puck able to get away. Brewmaster not so lucky. And now Ryu being pursued. And, you know, not to take anything away from typical mistakes, this is just how it feels to play against a professional team. A team that has been there, done that, has that much more experience. All things considered, especially during the laning phase, I think TM's put on a pretty nice show. They kept it even for as long as they could. They dealt with the tri-lane pressure about as well as they could have. But now it's just the experience and the overall skill difference. And again, not saying that in the pejorative sense, just saying, hey, Dignitas does this for a living. Typical mistakes on their way to that, just not there yet.
Yeah, I mean, Dignitas has been playing together for over a year. Typical mistakes only for about a month and a half, I think. So, I think they are playing extremely well. They've got some extremely talented players on their team, but They held their own in their laning phase, which is something that, you know, that's a little bit more of an individual-based skill activity. You know, laning is mostly what you do and maybe what you do with 1 or 2 other people. But as you head into the mid game, team coordination becomes really important, and we're really seeing Dignitas shine here as they just get gank after gank. They smoke up, and their smoke gank doesn't work, but as a result, they just keep pushing forward.
There's a silence on Jug. Bane not quite in position. So you get the Fiend's grip off, and there's going to be the Brewmaster caught. He's trying to split. He will be blown up before he can. The coil goes down. No, he actually got it off. He finished the animation after the stun. Now Dignitas forced to pull back. Here comes a ghost ship. That's going to catch a whole bunch. And by whole bunch, I mean I'm a sheep. Ice Path cleans him up. There's the call down. Everyone should be able to clear out. Fog doesn't care. Just walks right into it. And the Brewmaster reassembles. Way 2 and Fog both in trouble. There's a kill with the orb. Now, the re-engagement onto Fun. Makes it to the high ground. Shadow Demon not giving up the ghost. Yep, 1 stack on Shadow Poison's enough. Juggernaut re-engages. Gave the old okey doke around the end. Using Blade Fury to seal the deal. Disruption, Soul Catcher now on Cakes. He's going to come out firing. Fogged is there eating the majority of the damage. The illusions help buy time for sneaking to get the kill. 16-5. Those illusions actually saved them all right there. The Rocket Barrage without those illusions around would have probably killed at least 1 or 2 of them. As it stands, though, Dignitas takes what seemed to be a troublesome fight, turns it around, and puts another big win on the board, make it 16-5.
Yeah, everything's going well for Dignitas. All of these boats have actually been really good from Fog. Even just the aura going through his team is extremely helpful, and it's allowing AUI to really just do work.
And speaking of, in his bear, armlet phase, not bad. They're going to get that. And now, sneaking is, oh, very nice. Fiend's grip. Aui's going to have to try and come help. Don't think they can help him in time. Bear gets there, but work already done. Ship comes in to clean up. So Yoon and Ryu blows the silence. They're going to pursue this out, though. There's a Nightmare on the bear to buy time. Well-placed Light Strike Array from I'm a Sheep, though. Puts an end to that. They end up going 1 for 1. Jugger for the Brewmaster.
The farm differential between these teams is starting to get pretty high. I mean, top 6 heroes, only one of them is from typical mistakes. So
not the best shape to be in. And of the one that's in there, he's almost doubled up by Aoi.
Yeah.
So
Aoi is.
And again, not to take anything away from typical mistakes. And I'll tell you what is going to end up being the result of this, as bad as this game seems to be. And 16 minutes in, coming up on 12,000 gold differential for Dignitas. That's pretty bad. Same in the experience, but the result of that is going to be they're going to learn a lot. And again, that's what I feel like a big purpose of this league happens to be. Nice torrent, got 2 after that. There's the Macro Pyre. The boat's going to connect as well. So the skill shots all in line. And the tower going to end up dropping as well to Druid. Ryu trying to pull back here, will be disrupted. Has an orb if he wants to spend a beautifully timed Ice Path. Cannot have done it better. Omni Slash not available for sneaking. Doesn't care, going to dive anyway. And just taking damage. Oh, nice. Eats the Laguna Blade in the nose. And I'll tell you what made that funny. Yes, it's just Alina taking an obvious kill with the Laguna Blade. It was the fact that he was running from target to target, couldn't get in range to do damage, so he just looked like this confused little kid. Then he turns, leans at Lina, and just eats a Laguna Blade right in the mouth. Nonetheless, Dignitas tripling up their opposition, 22-7. This game getting out of reach. I think that's putting it a little mild.
Yeah, I think that's being kind. Take a quick look at the graphs, and Dignitas is 14,000 up for gold and 14,000 up for experience, and that's 17 minutes. That is it's basically double anything that typical mistakes has. That's quite significant.
Hate to break the news to you folks, those who took the shot at 123 rares. Not going to be today. Not today. Not saying it's not going to be never. Anyway, here's the counter initiation. They got way through. Coil goes down, gets 2 plus the bear. Way through cleaned up. Here comes the boat. Brewmaster. Oh, poor I'm a Sheep has been hit by every damn boat Fog has thrown. Every one of them. Nice Fiend's Grip. Going to catch sneaking from Fun. And they're doing a good job here, but the damage output just way too high. Call down's going to be there. The bear continuing to do work, though. Omni Slash actually interrupted by X marks the spot. I had no idea that's how that would function. Anyway, the bear going to be nightmared. It's 3 for 2. Dignitas still ahead, about to make it 3 for 4. Probably one of the better fights typical mistakes has had. But yeah, I just learned something new. The Omni Slash went off on the Bane, and then ended promptly whenever he was X marks the spot teleported. No idea that's how that worked.
Yeah, that's a cute little interaction that they have together. But that's the kind of fight that typical mistakes really needed like 8 minutes ago, around the 10-minute mark. That's when they really want to do assert four-person aggression, and they weren't able to really make it work just because of the constant aggression that Dignitas was putting onto them. So a little bit too late for them.
Just about to 10,000 is Owie and his farm. Top 4 on the board, by the way, all belong to Dignitas. So the supports right now, there are 3 support, or 1 support, I guess I should say, since they did draft the lineup with 1 carry, basically 3 carries, if we're to be honest, even though Jugger's more of an quote-unquote off carry or secondary carry. But, yeah, Shadow Demon's now more farmed than the Puck, which is the highest farmed hero on the board. Poor Gyrocopter just never really got it together this game. Still on tier 1 boots, by the way. There's another boat. And somehow that did not hit Lena. Every other boat in the game has hit that poor Lena. She's going to be X marks the spot back. And the bear going to be nightmared, so I'm a sheep will make it away. At least for the moment, but the walls are closing in. And yeah, sneaking, there you sneaking once again punished for playing a bit too aggressive. Ice Path locks 1 down, Bane moves back out, Ryu had the silence off. The rest of Dignitas just to the north, they're going to rotate to the south. But would imagine this game going to be reaching its conclusion before long.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to take too much longer. AUI is getting quite large. Does he have enough money to finish the Radiance? Yes, he does. So he's going to be picking up a Radiance on the bear, and this is pretty much going to let them do whatever they want in team fights. He can just run the bear around, and honestly, that Radiance damage is going to be enough to make typical mistakes have to continue to back off. Yeah. They have no farm, no durability items, really. Brewmaster, the only one that has any sort of semblance of survivability in Ogre Club.
The experience, not the best either. Level 10, tops on the board for TM, and level 10 is the level of Jakiro. Actually, Puck just hit 11. So got 1 name in the top 5. But just been a dominant performance so far out of Dignitas. TM is going to move out, sneaking, just going to farm right in front of Ryu. Says, fine, I got it, bro. Gold. Aegis drops, give it to Owie, and Ice Path shot up to the high ground. Ryu's there, is going to be Demonic Purge. Will try to jump away, got right on top of the Brewmaster, sneaking, going to YOLO his way in. Caught by a beautifully placed split, or Light Striker. And will end up dead again, so sneaking, stop feed, son. And now they're going to shoot the boat again. Brewmaster is actually going to spin to split. Jugger bought back, way too going to be caught with a rock from the low ground. Cakes down to about half health, just being burned to death. And another Light Striker array, way too is going to survive through it. Fog back up, gets the kill. There's a coil that catches way too plus Fog. Fogged. Trying to stay in range, we see once again another death on Jakiro. But the rest of this being cleaned up. There's X marks the spot. Brew reassembled into a hot LZ. 30-12. Typical mistakes putting up a fight, but looks like they may have just run out of guns.
Yeah, I think the tank's empty for them. I mean, Ryu has a Blink Dagger, but he only has 1 level in the phase shift, so he doesn't even have the normal ability to just sit in the phase shift and then blink out, so it's pretty much all over for typical mistakes. The Rax is going to be going down here very shortly. Not too much that I'm a sheep and Ryu can do about this.
Dignitas cleans up the last of the rubble, or makes rubble, the last of the buildings. Probably a more appropriate way to phrase it. And they're just going to hang in and lay this out. And, you know it's a point I made yesterday, and I'm going to make it again today. I think it's great that the league's happening. I think it's great that we can all be a part of this. I want to thank all of you guys once again for being a part of today's broadcast, and all of you in league, or in the game, I should say, for supporting the league with an in-game ticket. I want to thank the teams too, though, because, I mean, this is going to happen to some of these teams. They're going to run into pro-grade competition in a team like Dignitas, and they're going to get housed. But there is no shame at all in this happening. None whatsoever. This is how they improve. And hold that thought. There's going to be another fight that breaks out. Sneaking will wisely withdraw this time before dying again. There's a Brewmaster ulti. It goes off. And Puck doing what he can. Only halfway jumping. Knowing the time on his phase shift, as you had mentioned, not what he really wants it to be. And they're holding the line. Gonna take a moral victory when you can, but to finish the point, I think it's brave, and I think it's really, really indicative of how dedicated these teams are to improving and in trying to be a bigger part of this scene, and as well as the international Dota scene, to try and get their play to the next level. Knowing there's going to be thousands of people watching, and they're going to get blown out. It's going to happen to even the best of these teams when you go up against Team Liquid, Dignitas, and EG. But the fact that they're willing to do it anyway, just as a method to improve, just to be a part of this league and help build the North American community, I just think it's so admirable, and I think they all deserve a shout-out for that.
And I suspect by the end of the season, we're going to get a couple really good games out of these teams.
Oh, I have no
doubt. They're going to have some great competition. Oh man, Goody gets exploded.
Yep. Very dead Brewmaster silences the bear, nothing but. Nice try, Puck. But there's the Demonic Purge, Omni Slash with a bunch of jumps. Going to be able to clean this up. Very nice Ice Path, catches one. Brewmaster fresh up off the buyback, going to be sitting running for the well. Once again, there's another disruption. Has his ulti if he wants to spend it. He's actually going to hang on to it this time. And Fun eats everything in the world as he's picked off as well. And that should just about be that. Put a cherry on it. And I'm a sheep. They're going to get hit by another boat. There's finally the Brewmaster split. And they're going to try to make something happen here. But Fog with his godlike. Way 2 eats a Laguna Blade. Will end up dead. The rest of the racks being cleaned up in the meantime. Brew. Not much longer to go. Ultra kill for the Kunkka. And yeah, that'll be it. GG, says Fan of Sonyun. 37-14. Dignitas takes an easy one here.
Yeah, that was pretty rough for typical mistakes, but like I was saying right before that play started, I think by the end of the season we're gonna get some really, really fantastic games out of some of these lesser-known NA Dota teams. As soon as they get their team coordination under control, the personal skill of these players is really high. Some of these players are unbelievably talented.
Then the fight continues to rage. Someday, my dream of dreams is that every tournament will have harsh rules that punish people for not leaving the game after GG is called. Because I like a smooth transition, alright? It's who I am, it's what I do. While we have a minute, though, waiting on the Ancient to be exploded here, Greg, why don't you go ahead and drop some plugs here. Where can folks find more about you?
Biggest place to find more about me is www.whatiship.tv. No, that is not just a site about me. That's going to be a site that has a lot of content actually about this particular league, as well as information about all sorts of people in the community, interviews, analyses, things like that. And you can find me at Twitter at twitter.com/whatishiptv.
There you go. Follow the man. I know I do. 38-14. Dignitas makes it look easy. Again, in short, to reiterate the point, though, typical mistakes has no shame to feel here. This is how they improve, and I think it's so great that they and all these other teams are participating in the league the way they are. Going to be 25 minutes, 10 seconds, the official game time final kill score. Once again, 38-14. I'm Aaron AC Chambers. Make sure you hit follow here on the American Dota League. I'd love to have you back. We're going to be broadcasting 5-6 days a week. I actually got to, let me think, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So 5 days a week. I'll be here and joined by various guests. We had B-Days earlier. I had B-Days yesterday. Today we got Greg. What is hip? Laird. Again, he dropped all the knowledge. Whatiship.tv, where you can find a lot of information about him. For me, you can look me up on Twitter. I'm at AC, at AYESEE. And on Twitch, it's twitch.tv/ACTV. Dignitas wins. Typical mistakes done for the day. Meanix Esports going to be back in action, taking on Dignitas coming up next. Stick with us, guys.